All right, welcome back to College Football Addiction. We are back again with Tom Hannifan. We are going to chat a little bit about Penn State, looking at 2025. And Penn State got some good news with both running backs within a matter of hours, really, declaring that they would be back for the 2025 season. You get no rest for thinking about the playoff run and sitting back on that. It is just on to the next year, right? And no better way to start it than getting maybe the best duo in college football's backfield back again.
It's fantastic. I think Mel Kiper had them at 5 and 6, Singleton and Allen, respectively, in terms of his big board for running backs if they were to go out in the 2025 NFL draft for however much stock you put in those. But Nick Singleton and Katron Allen, it's been a symbiotic relationship now for years. Both went over 1,000 yards rushing this past season. They have added years to each other's careers, whether it's at Penn State or in the National Football League, and that they are going to be a tremendous asset to somebody in the pros at some point. But the way that they were able to be effective in the semifinal, in the quarterfinal, throughout this season was a sign of, one, what Andy Kotelnicki's offense capable of. Andy Kotelnicki coming back as offensive coordinator in 2025 is a tremendous sign. So having that consistency at tailback is great. The thing that's encouraging to me, TJ, is that as well as Singleton and Allen played, there's still so much more they can add to their games. And that should scare the hell out of a lot of people. And that it reminds me of when Donovan Edwards was playing better and playing alongside Blake Corum, having that 1-2 punch. You have Katron Allen, who my broadcast colleague Justin King is compared to a running style of Frank Gore, can run in between the tackles, runs angry, hits hard, makes decisive cuts, and is able to get away in space. And then Nick Singleton, that burner, that type of guy who is going to wow at the combine one day. And Nick Singleton is still adding to his game in terms of being able to be great in pass protection, great as a pass catcher. I mean, imagine if he added an element to his game, and Katron Allen for that matter, if they were a little Alvin Kamara-esque out of the backfield, what value that would do to their game and for the Penn State offense in 2025. So the bulk of Penn State's offensive line is expected back in 2025. Drew Allar is back in 2025. If you can figure out who the hell you're throwing the ball to, you're in really good shape with Allen and Singleton holding down the fort.
Yeah, you mentioned Drew Allar, and just thinking about his progression to where he is now, and then, it's early, and you mentioned the 2025 draft, but Allar's name is up there in the 26 draft, right? Like projecting out into next year. And obviously there are things that he needs to clean up. He'll be the first one to tell you that, but you could be looking at a top 5 pick at quarterback to go along with the best duo in not just maybe the Big Ten, but all of college football in the backfield. And again, who is catching the ball is very important. But when you have the main piece, right? When you have the quarterback and then you have what Penn State likes to run, lean on, and that be the run game. The idea of that kind of offense in 2025 has to have people excited.
It's really exciting because there's consistency, and I think a perfect example is what happened at Texas this year with Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers, yes, he has his peaks and valleys, but imagine if he had a stable running game to rely on, and obviously a lot of injuries along that offensive line. Penn State is fortunate to have had continuity along the offensive line, continuity at tailback, and what Andy Kotelnicki was able to put on tape this year is that, yes, there's the gadgets and the gimmicks, but that vanilla run the ball, hit you in the mouth style of offense is the bread and butter. That's exactly what Kotelnicki wants to do, and it's what Penn State has really been built on for decades, so it just makes a ton of sense. I think Singleton and Allen can build on their success, and there's a lot of talk of whether or not the two of them can finish as the first and second leading rusher in Penn State football history, potentially, and they'd pass some incredible names if they're able to do so. I think Singleton and Allen are going to anchor this offense in 2025. And to your point about Drew Allar, he has all the physical gifts. He has all the athletic gifts, is everything that you could want in a quarterback, but it's, can Drew Allar hold up in the big pressure, big time games and win you the game? No knock against him. So far in his career, in the biggest of games, he has looked shaken. And he needs to correct that. That's all between the ears. It's all from the neck up. If he wants to be coveted by NFL teams more so than he already is, he's got to be able to prove to the NFL level that he can handle the bright lights and the biggest stages. It's all there for the taking, but having that running game to back him up, I think is really going to set up Allar for success in 25.
it's pretty obvious that the answer to this is Abdul Carter. So I won't even ask like who's going to be the toughest to replace this year. But just talking about, but Warren's up there. Like there are other guys too. Who else though, outside of again an obvious top 10-ish pick? Who else does Penn State really need to make a run at replacing, or maybe as a younger guy on the roster that can kind of help them replace some of what they will lose in 2025?
Yeah, I still think about this secondary and what could have been in 2025 had KJ Winston not gotten injured and been lost for the season. He's a guy who's going to have a fantastic NFL career. Jalen Reed, another safety who has departed for the NFL draft. Jalen Kimber at cornerback has departed for the NFL draft, a guy that they were maybe, it sounded like he had always planned to be one and done and off to the NFL, so the program was aware of that, but it would have been great to have him for 25. So I think safety is a position that Penn State is going to be looking to fill. I agree with you on Abdul Carter and Tyler Warren. Those are no brainers. They desperately need to find a difference maker or two or three at wide receiver. I think that was clearly illuminated in the Orange Bowl against Notre Dame, so I don't need to go down that path. But I think safety and corner are going to be positions where I don't expect them to go for a corner necessarily in the transfer portal, but they could maybe look to address safety to get a third guy. They got King Mack back from Alabama. He had been at Penn State in 23, went to Alabama in 24. Now he's back in Happy Valley. So that actually fits in perfectly in that you could potentially pencil in King Mack to be the second safety with Zachy Wheatley sticking around for 2025. Wheatley had a wonderful playoff run. So you feel confident about those positions, but you are losing two heavy hitters in Reed and Winston there. So I'm curious what Penn State's able to dial up in the secondary. There's depth. There's a lot of guys who can do it, but who's going to step up and be that next star of Lockdown U? That's my question.
Going big picture, looking back at 2024, obviously, just a pretty dramatic Orange Bowl that we got, a high flying game in the fourth quarter that we maybe didn't expect, that doesn't go Penn State's way. What is the mood? Is there some ability to step back and say, like, look, if you'd have told me at the beginning of the year we're in the semifinal and we're in this thing in the fourth quarter with a chance to go, or is it still so much of would have, could have, should have? Like we were this close to maybe getting it to overtime or maybe having a chance and then still be playing. Like what is the mood just looking back at the 24 season right now?
I think it's gratitude. I hope it's gratitude. Penn State fans can be a little jaded, but here, I'll put it this way. Going into the 2023 season, I think plenty of Penn State fans believed in the hype of Drew Allar and Nick Singleton, for that matter, as we're going to coast and we're going to get ourselves potentially into the national championship. That didn't happen. So going into the 2024 season, myself and Justin King on State of State, all we talked about is that this is a prove it year. This is a show me year. Well, they showed out. Getting to the semifinal, people can knock the path of SMU and Boise State all they want. I get that. But to your point, you're a last-minute field goal away from going to the national championship and beating a damn good Notre Dame team. So I think Penn State has laid the groundwork to be a credible contender for the national championship in 2025. And having this roster reloading for 2025, keeping that nucleus intact, is a big reason why there's more positivity right now. Certainly question marks, Tom Allen departing as defensive coordinator, guys off to the NFL, guys into the transfer portal. What's the depth going to look like? That's certainly going to be a question. But I think it's looking back on this season is that myself and plenty of others were surprised to see Penn State land where they landed in the semifinal. And now it's just a question of, can they build on that momentum? The pressure certainly ramps up for James Franklin and company to get back to the playoff and get deeper into the playoff. I think they can do it with the pieces they have coming back in 25.
Yeah, they really had a nice last month or so of the season. Really a good year. It wasn't just the last month, but the way they, probably played as well or better than expected against Oregon and had a chance in that one. And then, like you said, you're 3 points away. You're maybe a late turnover away from things going the other way against Notre Dame. I'm kind of with you, but again, fanatics, right, are maybe never satisfied, right? There will only be one. Yeah. There will only be one fan base that really feels good, and we'll find out on Monday night who that is. I would imagine I have an idea who Penn State would prefer to win that one, but yeah, we'll find out on Monday who gets to be the one and only happy fan base for the next 8 months. Tom, I appreciate you for hanging out and spending some time. Where can people follow you and find more of your work?
Yeah, check out State of State, a Penn State football show with myself and Justin King, former Penn State and NFL defensive back. That's wherever you get your podcasts. Also, if you want to hear about all things Big Ten football, especially the aforementioned Ohio State Buckeyes against the Notre Dame Fighting Irish in the national championship game, check out Believe in Big Ten wherever you get your podcasts. Rhett Lewis, my co-host, former Indiana wide receiver, also a correspondent for the Big Ten and NFL networks. That's wherever you get your podcasts, of course, and you can check me out on social media at Tom Hannifan, TomHannifan.
Awesome. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed this content, if you liked it, if you hated it, if it made you feel any kind of way, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. We certainly do appreciate all of the support as we continue to grow here on College Football Addiction. We will talk to you guys soon.